Welcome to Good Books Lately. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Taylor, and we're coming at you from the other side of the couch today because we are squeezing this in. It was getting a little late in the day, and it's a super cozy episode.
Yeah.
It's cloudy outside, and we're losing light, and back there where we usually film, which is our little kitchen area, the light is not great right now, so we have more windows here.
Hopefully.
Hoping. I've got my tea, you've got your wine, and I think we are ready to get started. Ready?
You want me to start? Or do you want to start?
No, you start.
Okay.
You start us.
So, Done and Dusted is where we're going to start. So, the one I picked for my Done and Dusted is the Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi. This is a wonderful fiction pirate book about kind of pirates of the South Seas, and it's about a female pirate leader, and she has been in retirement for 10 years, coming out of retirement for a job that is being kind of forced upon her. It's got fantasy elements, it's got adventure, it's got pirates, it's got magic.
Is there romance in this book?
There is elements of previous romance.
Okay.
There's a kind of a mother-daughter element to this. There's an element of adults or parents and their children, or adults and children, who knows more.
And what'd you rate it?
This was a 5. I loved it. I kind of knew I was going to go into liking it, but yeah, highly recommend. Really enjoyed it. It was really fun.
You said that you thought I would like it too.
Yeah, I think you definitely need to pick this up and read it on your own. But yeah, really good.
Very cool. This is so cozy. We're inviting you into our living room, and it feels like, come and sit. This is this right here is where I typically sit to read and to knit and to do all of these things. Yeah. So my first, I want to talk about, this is honorable mention. I'm going to set that over here. Done and Dusted. So we're going to start with my audiobook that I have finished. Now, this is this one. This is a book that I tried reading several years ago because I think we had gone
got through a third of it too, right? Or something?
Well, I would say maybe a third.
Yeah.
Maybe a third, maybe not quite a
Quarter.
third. But I picked it up because we were on this time travel movie genre thing for a while, and I discovered this one as because it was a time travel movie, and it's called Time and Again. By Jack Finney. This book, when I started reading the actual physical copy of this book, the beginning of it is fascinating. It really pulls you in, and then it starts to become not boring but slow paced because there's a lot of heavy description. But listening to this, I started listening to this I can't remember when I started it. I would say
about a week and a half ago. 2 weeks maybe?
Maybe 2-3 weeks ago. I started listening to the audiobook, and I loved it. There were those times when I could tell, okay, this is where the pace really slows down, but because I'm doing other things, I'm driving, I'm working, I'm cleaning the house, and I'm listening to it, it was okay, because I just felt like I'm just going through the motions of the story and really steeping myself in the story and the descriptions and all the visualizations, and I really appreciated it. So what I would say about this book is, if you're interested in time travel, and I'm talking not jump into a time machine time travel. I'm talking self-hypnosis, Christopher Reeves, and Somewhere in Time travel. Because if you've seen the movie Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeves.
Oh yeah, this is the best part. There's a special coin compartment for emergency.
Is that Somewhere in Time movie, and the way that time travel is dealt with in that movie is very similar to how it's dealt with here. And if you like that, you're really going to like this book. You'll especially like the audiobook. It's very well done. I started listening to the abridged version, and it was a 4-hour book. I couldn't remember the book being that skinny, but I started listening, not realizing it was the abridged version. And I'm ripping through this. This is fantastic. I was 100% done, and I just felt like I was missing something.
Yeah.
And then I realized it was abridged. So I went back and listened to the whole thing again from the beginning. And I absolutely loved it. So that is Time and Again by Jack Finney.
Yeah.
Super interesting approach to time travel. I don't know. I just really liked it. And the description, if you're a person like me who is fascinated by history and wants to imagine what it would be like to be in that time period and to visualize everything, to touch things, to smell things, what it would be like to see people from another time, this is a really good book for you.
I like the quote here from Stephen King.
Right. gets.
But
he
it
rules.
says the great time travel story, and it mentions that he wrote 11/22/63, which is a great time travel story as well.
I have to assume this has to be one of the better time travel stories.
Yeah.
I've not read. This is it. Okay. This is all I've read of time travel. But I have to assume because the way that it was handled, it's. Really,
I think
it's almost.
I think if you are
bordering unbelievable.
like wanting to keep going with the time travel, you should listen to 11/22/63.
Well, so we watched that.
We watched the show,
But,
but
you're right.
you can listen to it because the show's good, but it's not.
It doesn't do
the
anything
book is like
compared to the book.
Yeah. All right. Do you want
Good
to
to
keep
know.
going to go into your bookmark?
So okay, yeah, I guess.
Or since
No,
it's-
do you have another one?
I have another one.
Another Done and Dusted?
Oh, I can talk about an audiobook.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
do it.
Yeah, so I don't have the physical copy of this audiobook.
Point of the audio books, except for me, I just happen to have these.
I recently, I've been on the kick. My audio book kick has been through the T. Kingfisher kind of like Paladin Saint of Steel series. I finished all.
He's like steeping himself in the T. Kingfisher, and I'm telling you, my first experience, my second experience with her with the Bone Dog book.
Nettle and Bone.
Nettle and Bone Dogs.
Yeah.
Bone no.
The most recent one I just finished was the Wonder Engine. Clockwork Boys and the Wonder Engine are part of the Clocktaur series. If you're gonna do it, listen to them both back to back and consider it one book, because the first one is really just a bunch of build up, bunch of character development, bunch of information. Nothing really happens. There's one scene that's like, oh, okay, that's, thrilling or adventurous. Everything else is just them getting things ready to go. When I got done with the Clockwork Boys, I was like, oh, that wasn't my favorite. I liked it, because I knew a lot of the stuff that was being talked about, so I was invested that way.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen. I'm just gonna finish the series, listen to Wonder Engine, and that's when I was like, okay, it paid off. Really good to finish out that way. So the Wonder Engine and the Clockwork Boys, the Clocktaur series, is all about these kind of band of kind of criminals or rejects or kind of just unsavory folk that are being sent from one town to go figure out what's going on with these what they call Clocktaur boys. They're trying to figure out what is making these things and how to stop them, because they're these massive ivory gear things that are indestructible almost. They're being sent from this other city and they're just wreaking havoc. No one knows how to stop them or where they're coming from, so they send this group of basically criminals to go figure it out, because they figured it's a suicide mission. If they died, so what? At least we tried, kind of something. We can't keep sending our best soldiers out and getting mowed down. We need to kind of try a different route. So I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun, and I would recommend it. Okay. As long as you read both. All right. What's your currently reading or bookmarked?
All right. So let's just carry on with my Jack Finney and Time and Again. I am now, because I finished Time and Again, and it was fabulous.
As you should.
I immediately started reading from time to time. And when I say reading, I mean listening to.
Also audiobook, yeah.
It's an audiobook, yes. This one is available on Hoopla. I wasn't able to get the unabridged version of this one on Hoopla, so I had to do this one on Audible. But this one is not quite as long. It's like about I want to say, yeah, it's not quite 300 pages long. So it's a shorter sequel to Time and Again. And what I love about this, and I can't really tell you too much about this, but it does carry over, the story carries over, but it starts to talk. So in this one, there's a lot of discussion about how much you can exist in the past without changing things that are large enough in scale to affect the future, and the ethics of all of that. And so that comes up to an extent in the first one. And then in the second one, they're talking about how sometimes the collective memories of people. So if you know the Mandela effect, where people have one collective memory of Nelson Mandela dying in prison, and then people have another collective memory of Nelson Mandela. He died of old age or some kind of illness or something.
Kind of later.
And so there's two collective memories, and you have two groups of people who remember very distinctly one of these things or the other. Okay. So they don't talk about it as the Mandela effect in this book. I'm not really sure when that term was coined, but they do talk about how some people can have memories of things that never really came to pass now, but they remember it having come to pass in the past, little things for example, President Kennedy taking a second term, and then in their current existence they have the memory of him doing this, but then currently in their current existence that is not the case. It never happened. And so it talks about that, and it suggests, where I'm at right now, that is because something was done
The time travel or
in time
being back
to,
in time.
to adjust time, but it happens in a
Doesn't-
way that people who are alive
It doesn't
will have
catastrophically
experienced
change
both.
anything, but it
Well, it's not even, it's what's interesting about it is it's not how catastrophic the change is, but it's how you can have people who within a single lifetime will have both memories.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because both things will have occurred.
because of the time. Yeah.
Because so like, yeah, so it's really fascinating. So they talk a little bit about that. And then that's as far as I've gone in terms of like major things. But then there's more individual character development that happens here that's interesting. Very heavy on the description. So if you're not really into that kind of thing and you find that real heavy descriptive portions of books is hard to get through by reading them, it really might be a good one to listen to and have it told to you like a story. So I enjoy these both so much.
What did you rate Time and Again?
I give it 5.
5
I thought it was great. It was a fantastic story. And the ending of this is just like, ooh, what an interesting way. And then it really picks up right where you leave off, but it also kind of doesn't. It kind of takes you off on a side. So I don't know. It's really good if you're into time travel like I am, and you love history and the idea of going back in time, or
Yeah.
it's good.
Cool.
It's good. So that's my bookmarks for audiobooks.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I'll do my
yours?
bookmark.
This is very odd. I'm getting used to this
All right.
arrangement.
That's okay.
Okay.
Okay. The second in the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, The Drawing of the Three. I'm not super far in. I'm only 76 pages in. I'm enjoying it. I remember that when I read the first one, I finished one, I had like this really surreal kind of like...
Is that happening to you?
No. So that the first one, and I think people who've read all of them, it kind of mentioned that the first one is much more kind of like you don't know what's going on. You're kind of guessing, and it kind of... You're getting acquainted with what the story is. And this one, it starts off where the second one left off. You're following the gunslinger. They're pulling an element of like kind of like a current modern world.
Are you having that same metaphysical experience?
No, not yet. I think it was later in the first one that I started having that, but we'll see. But I love that this is I think a lot of the editions do have the full color pictures, and these are pretty graphic ones. But
Oh my gosh, is he?
yeah. So I'm enjoying it, and I'm I continue reading the series, and I want to see how this book will come out. And also, I guess Stephen King just came out saying has more ideas for the Dark Tower. What's following the next installment or something. I don't know. I didn't read it because I didn't want to spoil it, and my brother said it would spoil it, so I didn't. But yeah, that's one of the things I'm currently reading right now. Yeah.
Well, speaking of metaphysical, I have 3 books that are kind of on my like currently reading. So I only have here. Okay, so I have The Bright Sword by Lev Grossman. Did I say Lev Grossman? The Bright Sword. And then I have The Mists of Avalon. Sorry. Okay, so those are 2 kind of Arthurian stories, right?
Yeah.
They both are, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Mists of Avalon in a minute. But they were becoming kind of, not necessarily the Bright Sword. I didn't get into that far enough for me to feel like it was getting slow. I was enjoying where that was going, and I'm excited to pick that up again. But I really was intrigued when several people recommended, because I was on this Arthurian kick, to pick up the Mists of Avalon. And so we grabbed it. I was so excited to start it because they say, and it is, that it's the story of King Arthur, but through the eyes of the women that were involved. It's just being retold from the perspective of the women, and it's interesting. So I started reading this now, and I made a bookmark for it. I was
Really
getting like
cool
real
bookmark.
nerdy, and so I painted a bookmark. This is Excalibur and the Lady of the Lake. Yeah. It became slow. Felt like I needed something that was a page turner. And I had picked up this book by Marina and Sergei Dyachenko, and it's called Vita Nostra. Sorry, I really want you to see the cover of this book. I'm going to get it in there even closer. This is so awkward. Okay, so there it is, Vita Nostra. I picked it up at Barnes & Noble when we were there one day because I had read the back of it. I'm going to read the back of it to you, so pardon me if you don't mind me doing this. It says, while vacationing at the beach with her mother, teenage Sasha Samakina meets the mysterious Ferret Kozenikov and finds herself powerless to refuse when this unusual, vaguely sinister man directs her to perform a task with potentially scandalous consequences. He rewards her with a strange golden coin. To say that's putting it lightly. As the days progress, Sasha carries out other acts for which she receives more coins from Kozenikov. As summer ends, her domineering mentor directs her to use her gold to enter the Institute of Special Technologies in a remote village. Against her mother's wishes, Sasha leaves behind all that is familiar. Okay, I only read that because I want to tell you that, yes, that is
True.
kind of true, but it doesn't come close to the experience you have with exactly how that unfolds in the story. Okay, continuing. She quickly discovers the Institute's special technologies are unlike anything she has ever encountered. The books are impossible to read, the lessons are obscure to the point of maddening, and the work refuses memorization. Using terror and coercion, the school does not punish students directly for their transgressions and failures. Instead, their families pay a terrible price. Yet, despite her fear, Sasha undergoes changes that defy the dictates of matter and time, experiences which are like nothing she has ever dreamed of, and suddenly all she could ever want. A brilliant dark fantasy combining psychological suspense, enchantment, and terror, this internationally acclaimed Russian novel receives its definitive English language translation in the hands of Julia Maitov-Hersey. Okay. Yes, but there's so much weird, bizarre stuff that happens in this story.
Yeah.
It's metaphysical stuff. It's not magic. Nothing about it seems magic, but it's compared to, it says, a cross between Lev Grossman's The Magicians and Elizabeth Kostova's The Historian. It's the anti-Harry Potter you didn't know that you wanted. I mean, yeah. I guess I can see the ties in that it's very, dark academia. There's a school for these, special kids, but I don't really know how special they are. It's wacky. It's page-turning. It's engrossing. I'll be reading this. There's no chapters.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You said there's no chapters. So you
there's
just
two
keep going.
parts, but there's no chapters. And so what happens is you get wrapped up in this world. Yeah, there's page breaks of these things that are happening. And the writing is very, it's very wonderfully translated because the writing just draws you in. And I'm telling you, I'll be reading this and time will be passing and I completely zone out. Yeah. Whatever is going on in this book is wild. And
you're cruising through it.
I'm kind of cruising. I feel like I'm not reading it as fast as the page. It's deceptive.
Well,
you see how high up on the pages it goes.
It's got small margins. It's got small letters. But
if you like it, it is not young adult. It is not young adult. These are young adults that are involved in this, but this is not a young adult book. However, if you like dark, if you like unusual, if you like suspense and mystery and you want something to compel you to turn the pages because you're thinking, what on earth is happening in this book? You need to try this book because it is good. It is enjoyable. I look forward to sitting down and reading it whenever I sit down and read it, and time just kind of slips by me and it's kind of wild. There's a lot of metaphysics going on in this. It's like a cross between, somebody said it's like a cross between Harry Potter and Immanuel Kant. It's like Harry Potter if it were written by Immanuel Kant, who's a metaphysical, philosopher or whatever. So that is another one that I'm currently reading and I really love it. It's the only thing I'm really actively reading right now because I'm so engrossed in it. And I love it. And it's one of two books. There's a sequel to it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But,
cool.
Okay, so I've done both. My honorable mention was going to be The Mists of Avalon. That's it. I've done both.
All right, that's fine. I'll do my honorable mention.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So my honorable mention is
okay. Bring your head towards me.
There we go. The Ex-Wife.
I love the cover.
I know. It's The Ex-Wife by Ursula. Would you say Parrott? Parrott. She's an American author, kind of into these ideas that McNally Publishers or something. They find some books that were old classics, and this one was originally released in 1929, and it was published anonymously. Her name wasn't a part of it,
and that's because you said there was some pretty controversial racy types.
Well, it's kind of talking about at that time divorce and kind of open marriages, and it's written from a woman's perspective of what divorce is like and what women at that time kind of go through and probably still do today when they are the ex-wife.
She was in her 20s, wasn't she?
The main female in this book, I think, was 21, 22 at the time.
Wait a minute.
There's it touches on that she was pregnant at one point, the baby died
Oh, that's-
after like it was alive. Like you come away thinking like, well, it's good that she got out of the marriage because he was not a good guy, but she is going through this change in her life. She's trying to figure out what her identity is. It's in this era of like the flapper speakeasy New York City. It has a very similar kind of way of writing that Ernest Hemingway did in the book I read, The Sun Also Rises.
Well, it's the same time period.
Yeah, same time period, and kind of you get the same idea that everyone is just drinking all the time.
It's 1924, and Peter and Patricia have what looks to be a very modern marriage. Both drink, both smoke, both work. Patricia as a head copywriter at a major department store. When it comes to sex with other people, both believe in the honesty policy until they don't. Yeah. Or at least until Peter doesn't, and a shell-shocked, lovesick Patricia finds herself starting out all over again, but this time around as a different kind of single woman, the ex-wife. Oh, okay, so it's like a couple who agree to an open marriage until one of them, until it happens, and then she's unhappy about it.
So that that's kind of got me into it, but that's not how it's portrayed in the book. That's not how it's, like, it's written like, oh, she's kind of okay with him because he does it first, and then she happens to do it, and then mentions it to him later, and he's okay with it, but then something happens where somebody else gets put into their life, and that person isn't of their same mindset, and kind of pollutes the husband.
Okay.
Or villainizes the wife to the husband, kind of thing. It's a whole thing. Once you get past that, it's her life after that, and like her involvement with men, both friends and romantically. I really enjoyed it. I think after I got through her divorce, or not her breakup with her husband, because that first part I felt like it makes the woman the main character seem very weak. Everything after that really kind of picks up for me, and then it was compelling with the story she was telling about the people in her life.
And this is fiction, by the way.
Yeah, this is fiction. So this isn't a true story.
But I thought it was a true story when you were first telling me about it.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed it, and yeah, had fun. Yeah, second McNally edition I've read that I've enjoyed.
All right, so that was all your. That was everything you have.
That's
is
everything.
That your honorable mention? Was that?
That was my honorable mention because I finished it. It was a finished read, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned it.
Okay, well then let's do our quote of the day.
Yeah, quote of the day. All right, you start it off.
Okay, so.
What do you got?
Okay, so I'm going to do this from my phone. You're just going to listen to the quote because that's the easiest way for me to do this since it is my audiobook. This might be spoilery, so just so you know. Maybe like skip forward just a few seconds until this is over. Okay.
No, I won't let you stay here, Julia. We're a people who pollute the very air we breathe and our rivers. We're destroying the Great Lakes. Erie is already gone, and now we've begun on the oceans. We filled our atmosphere with radioactive fallout that put poison into our children's bones, and we knew it. We've made bombs that can wipe out humanity in minutes, and they are aimed and ready to fire. We ended polio, and then the United States Army bred new strains of germs that can cause fatal, incurable disease. We had a chance to do justice to our Negroes, and when they asked it, we refused. In Asia, we burned people alive. We really did. We allow children to grow up malnourished in the United States. We allow people to make money by using our television channels to persuade our own children to smoke, knowing what it is going to do to them. This is a time when it becomes harder and harder to continue telling yourself that we are still good people. We hate each other, and we're used to it.
Okay, so that was it. So that's like one of the last chapters in the book. And the book is not heavy like that. Okay, that's very heavy. And so when it gets to that point at the end, you feel kind of like this is a culmination. This is obviously where somebody would be going if they were having a conversation with somebody from let's say the 19th century in the 20th century. So the book is written in the 70s. I think I almost want to say 1970 is when it was written.
Yeah.
So you have, that's like where the context is, okay? And this person is talking to somebody from the 19th century, the late 1800s, about what has happened and what's going on. And I thought that, you can't not have that conversation. And it's wild. It just kind of makes you think like, geez, Louise. But that was where the mindset was of people at that time, like, late 60s, 70s, like what we've done and all these kinds of things. I don't know. I'm sorry. I had a moment with that. I was listening to it. I was folding clothes while I was listening to that. I was just like,
stopped, and you were like, yeah, hit you.
I don't hear it. Yeah. So anyway, that was it. That's my quote. Okay.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Hey, no, good. I got one.
Okay, good. Let's hear it.
All right. Mine's coming from The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi again.
Okay.
And this is kind of towards the end, but a character has helped out the main character and in doing so kind of put themselves in a situation where it wasn't maybe going to help them.
They took a hit.
Yeah, they kind
one
of
for
took a
the
hit,
team.
or they're kind of putting their self on the line here. It is not always easy to do the right thing, Amina al-Sirafi. More often than not, it is a lonely, thankless ordeal. That does not mean it is not worth doing. So I think that's very good. Like, it's something, raising kids, raising boys, just because it's hard and you might not be thanked for it, and people, it might be difficult for you to do, or it might lead us, making you feel uncomfortable. If you know it's the right thing to do, you should do it, because it's worthwhile. It's worthwhile in the end, and it's going to make you feel better in the long run.
I think that's really powerful.
Yeah.
So that's great. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
And it is something that we do work on this with our kids, but when you have little ones and you're trying to bring them up right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good thing to remember.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
All right. There it is. That's quote of the day.
That's
In the super cozy couch laid back edition of Good Books Lately. I hope this wasn't too off-putting.
Yeah, too cash.
Yeah, we had just more light this way. It is really it might rain. How great
That'd
would
be
that
great. We need it.
Yeah, but thank you guys for hanging out with us today. We
Yeah.
are hoping that maybe the next episode of this, we might be filming this from Santa Fe, New Mexico, where we'll be on a little vacation, and that could be kind of fun. So
That'll be fun.
yeah, we'll see how that goes. But until
so
the meantime,
Like
give
it,
a thumbs up, subscribe it, and comment down below.
Yeah, what's some books you're reading? What's recommendations you have for us? We always like that. We, our TBR can't get any bigger, I'm sure.
Oh no, yeah, it's a problem. Let us know what's going on, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.